What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for coming on over here and watching. I wanted to make this video because I know Cam is wanting to keep all the submission videos down to like a minute, but I thought it'd be cool to kind of talk about this bike a little bit more in depth and kind of show you what I'm working with here. So yeah, this is my 2001 CR125. I think I'm gonna build it up to be quite a cool bike. So I've always been really jealous of people that document their builds really well. I'm just not good at that, to be honest with you. I just don't think anything I do is interesting enough or cool enough to think people want to watch it. But yeah, 2001 CR125, not in the best shape in the world. It's not bad. It does run. Not great. I actually, when I got it, it was sputtering a lot, so I rebuilt the carb. Just got a rebuild kit, cleaned it out really well. Ran a lot better after that, but it does run. That's pretty much the highlight of the bike, to be honest with you. It's pretty fair to say that this bike wasn't very well maintained. It looks like the swing arm might be a little chewed up there. I'm not sure if you guys can see that, but it might be a little chewed up in there. We'll see. There is kind of a unique feature about this bike, and that's that these forks are not the stock forks. These are the stock forks. So yeah, definitely not. These are, I think, 46 millimeter KYB forks, and those are 47 millimeter Showas. And the 2001 CR250s had those forks. They're actually internally, I think they're the same thing as like the 02 to 07 CR250 forks, but they're a little bit different. Like the fork cap and all that's a little different. I think the brake hanger and whatnot is a little different, but other than that, almost the same forks. And from what I'm reading online and from advice from Facebook friends, these forks are open bath forks, and if you were doing like trail riding or whatever, that'd be great. Those forks are better for motocross, and I'm a motocross rider, so I want to use setup for motocross. They are a little harsh in the mid-stroke, apparently. So with some suspension tuning, I'll get that taken care of. But I think I'm gonna try to use those Showa forks. I think that'd be really cool. But yeah, this is the parts bike that came with it. So a ton of parts. I'm sure some of them are usable, some of them are not. We'll just have to see. But yeah, that's a huge advantage. But yeah, I don't think I'm gonna wash it off. I think I'm gonna pop it off the stand real quick, start it so I can drain the oil easier, and then I'll go ahead and wheel it in here and get after it. Alright, we're already running into problems. The oil is black as night, which is not a great sign. Also, it's like completely cold, which is, yeah, I wish it was hot. Anyways, that drain bolt did absolutely not want to come out. I had to hit it with impact. There is crud everywhere under this bike. It is nasty. Also, it kind of smells. Oh, that's about it. It's pretty stinky. But yeah, I think it's just that exhaust flange up there is leaking. Maybe that's why it's running so rough. But there's crud everywhere under here, so yeah, not great. But first bolt's out. The disassembly has officially begun. So rock on. Bike's on the stand. Got all the fluids drained out, gas, oil, coolant. Not as much oil as I thought would be in there. Same with the coolant. We'll see how that, yeah, maybe the coolant was okay. Coolant was surprisingly pretty clear, so that's a good sign. But yeah, there's definitely not as much oil in it as I thought there should be. Maybe it was burning some of that off. I guess we'll see. Alright, got all the plastics off. Did not take long to find some issues. So, left shroud had 3 of the 4 bolts. Doesn't really surprise me a whole lot. The rear fender had 2 bolts, which was right, but the bolt on this side was the wrong bolt, and then the bolt on this side wasn't even the right bolt. It was an Allen head, and then on this side was a lock nut. So I think that might be completely wallered out. It kind of looks like that might be the case. I already have a new swing arm coming anyways, because I'm doing something kind of unique and interesting. I'll show you what I mean in the future. And then on the side number plates, each one only had a bolt, which is correct. They are only supposed to have 1 bolt holding them in after you take off the seat, but neither of them were the right bolt. So, and then on the front fender, had all 4 bolts, but only 2 of them were the right bolts. So already we're learning things. We're discovering things. It's an adventure. We're gonna keep going. Okay, next issue. Oh, you gonna help, Draco? Yeah. I already found the next issue. These handlebar bolts are like completely seized on here. And they're Allen heads, which is very unusual. So I don't have the I probably could get it with the impact, but I don't have the impact bit to get in there. So instead, I think I'm gonna take all the controls off and then come up under here to take that bolt loose, and then just take off the handlebars with the handlebar clamps. I'm gonna replace both of those because I do not like this design whatsoever. I think that's really stupid. So may as well replace it. Subframe, just took that off. The entire underside, like where the silencer goes, is like caked in oil. Are you helping? Thank you. It's like completely caked in oil, so that's freaking gross. And then the airbox only had 1 screw holding it on. And I think that's because, so this one is cracked. This is where that 1 screw was. This one was cracked. This one is cracked. So I think someone down the line just said, you only need 1. Don't need to replace that. It's freaking built, man. Maybe I should have power washed this thing, because if you touch anything at all, your hands are instantly covered in oil. That thing was spitting oil everywhere. I've already been through like a dozen pair of gloves or something like that, but I just got the front wheel off and I'm sitting here playing with it, and one thing I did not notice is that I can't really, I mean, it's kind of, you might be able to tell on the camera, but it's like super choppy. So those bearings are definitely gone. It's hard to kind of demonstrate it on camera, but you can tell like it's not steering the way it should be. So yeah, looks like new steering bearings are in order. so first of all, never a good sign when you got to use a breaker bar on your pinch bolts for the triple clamps. That is way too tight. For whatever reason, they torque that sucker down. Now the handlebars, my idea for getting those bolts down here did not work because these are actually Allen heads too, and bigger than any Allen key I have. So I ended up using, believe it or not, I actually used my front axle to get a little bit more leverage on the Allen key, and that actually worked pretty good. I had to stop and take this video though, because to my absolute surprise, I've never seen this. Maybe this is something that people do or did, and I don't really understand why, but they did. There is actually spray foam, like a spray insulation kind of thing, in the steering stem. Like seriously, it's like I can squeeze it. It's like foam, and it was I just hammered this through because it wouldn't come out, which should have been a sign like, hey, something's wrong. But yeah, there's like foam all up in here, and that probably is why it was so bad to turn, because these bearings, you can even see with the way the grease was pushed, these bearings weren't allowed to do their job at all. So yeah, that's a new one for me. That's I gotta say, I've never seen that before. So we'll see how the rest of the bike goes. Everything that was a 2001 CR125 is now over here, and the engine. Got it completely down to the frame. This thing is freaking filthy. So before I dive into the engine, I'm gonna go ahead and power wash this guy up, try to get it as clean as I can. It's going to powder coat maybe tomorrow. Yeah, we'll have to call and see if he's even open. It's December 22nd right now, so he may not be open. I do think I'm going to try to fix the scoring with JB weld, kind of like I've seen Cam do. I can't believe I have to say this, but if you're building a dirt bike, please don't fill the steering stem with foam or Gorilla Glue or whatever. We looked it up online, and it looks like it was someone's attempt to lessen the vibrations, which is just about the dumbest thing I've ever heard. That's not going to help at all. If anything, it'd probably make it worse if it was high enough density. So yeah, please don't do that. It actually kind of scraped out pretty easy, but yeah, it was all the way up in the bearing. You could actually see on the top bearing where they first applied the grease, which means that the bearing was not rolling at all when it was in there, because the foam or glue or whatever it was actually got up in the bearing and was holding it there. So please don't do that. That was a really dumb thing to do. But our food's here, so we're gonna eat. I'm gonna hit pause on recording, and the engine teardown will be the next video.